All right, everybody, who's ready for another episode of Quarantine Comedy?
Yeah!
All right, well, just a quick reminder for those of you who might have missed our first episode, or maybe you've been living under a rock. There's this little thing that's a virus that's going around and keeping us all at home, with the exception of a few of us that snuck out and got together to give you a little bit of entertainment because it's boring being at home all of this time with nothing to watch. We're trying to provide you with something. And so we got a couple of the comics that are here locally together tonight to give you just a taste of their funniness. And so we're going to get things started right away. Help me welcome to the stage the first comic tonight for Quarantine Comedy, the very funny, my big friend, Ridgeway.
Oh man, so back when we used to be able to travel, you know, when we could get on a plane and go somewhere, I went to the Dominican Republic. I've actually been there like 19 times. And so one of my trips there, we got on this open air bus, and it was really safe because it was like, you know, a big U-shaped couch in the back of this giant bus with the open air. It was so safe, no seat belts, anything. But we got to this town up in the village, and these kids started showing up, and they started climbing onto the bus and riding into the village with us. And one of them sat like really too close, you know, like too close that you're not supposed to sit that close, and then started rubbing my belly, which I thought was really strange. And then he was like, "Mi amigo es grande." And I've been to Taco Bell enough to know that he was right. I was a gringo grande is what I was. That's me, a giant. And so we were on there, another kid gets on the bus and he looks at me and he's like, "Hola, Fefi." And I was like, looking around, I'm like, my name's not Fefi, that's a poodle's name, you know? And I was like, "No, tu nombre es Fefi." And I was like, "No, mi amo is Haas." "No, Fefi, no, Haas, you know, Joss. And some people speak Spanish. All right, so, I mean, I'm sitting there going like, "No, it's Haas." He's like, "No, Fefi." And then he says, "Fresca a la memoria," and falls to the ground. I was like, that's a weird greeting. You know, like, of all the places I've been, that's the strangest greeting I've ever seen in my life. And so, like, we get to the village, and all the kids are standing around me, and they're all saying the same thing. They're like, "Hola, Fefi, fresca la memoria," falling to the ground. And like, there's 12 children laying on the ground all around me, and the missionary goes, "What happened?" I was like, "I didn't do it. They hit themselves." And he's like, "What happened?" And I said, "I don't know. They were talking about fresca, and then they hit themselves and fell down. I don't understand it." And he's like, "What did they call you?" And I was like, "They called me some poodle's name, Fefi." And he's like, "Hoss, I'm really sorry, but this morning we had movie night in the village, and we showed them The Princess Bride. They all think you're Andre the Giant." And I was like, that makes sense. And so then they take us to our room where we're going to stay, and in this room are like bunk beds, way too short, and they're covered in mosquito nets. And I was like, how bad are the mosquitoes in the Dominican Republic are they that bad? And he said, "They're not for the mosquitoes, they're for the critters."
The critters?
The what? The critters? And I was like, "I don't speak sign language or Spanish. What does this mean?" And he's like, "They're right there." And I looked up and it looked like that face hugger from the movie Aliens, right up the top. And I was like, okay, so we're gonna sleep in these bunks with that spider. Oh, thank you. I feel so safe. And then, like, in the middle of the night, I'm laying there and I'm too tall for the bunk, so my feet kick out the net. And I woke up in the middle of the night. It's completely dark. Have you ever had a disturbance in the force? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know something's wrong, but you're not sure if you want to figure it out or not. You know, like when you hear something go bump in the night, you go like, I could investigate and see if there's a robber in my house, or I could go back to sleep, and then he could take all my stuff, and I'm fine, you know? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I got to do something, so I reach over, and I get my flashlight, and I turn it on, and there he was, the inside of my mosquito net, staring me down, and he's like, "Hola, Fefi, fresca la memoria." Then I hit my head and fell out. You know, I was out of there. I've been in a lot of places, but that was like the scariest I've ever, any place I've been, but I took my dad to the Dominican Republic one time, and he was in the Navy, so he doesn't hear very well. And so I'm trying to explain to him how to say different Spanish phrases, you know? And so he's like, "All right, tell me how to greet." And I was like, you say, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" And he's like, "Got it." He comes back, he says, I'm not doing that again. I was like, why? He said, they asked if they could move in. I was like, no, Dad, they said muy bien. They're answering your question. They're saying very good. And here you are thinking they're moving in. It's like, just like at the airport, I ask you to stop asking people where the banjo was, okay? It's banjo, you know? And then we're handing out toys to these children. And he's like, all right, what do I say? And I was like, Feliz Navidad. And he's like, got it. Turns around, he's like, Felix Navidad. He's like, no, that kid just thought you said, Felipe is not your dad. I mean, he's scarred for life, okay? It was not exactly what you should have been saying, I'm telling you. But my father-in-law, he's a different bird. I love him, and, you know, you can't choose your father-in-laws. Maybe you can, okay? But I chose this one because it get me a wife. But I remember when I was meeting with him one day, I said, hey, what are you up to? He said, well, they made me the chaplain at the VFW. That's the funniest thing I'd ever heard him say, because VFW is a bar, and they made him the chaplain. He's the preacher at the bar. Way to go, all right? And I was like, well, how's it going? He said, well, it burned down. I was like, wow, what happened? He said, I think it was arsenic. I was like, they poisoned the whole place? Wow, that's impressive. And then I was like, I don't know about arsenic, bro. I mean, I think maybe you got your head hit too many times. You got that Indonesia. That's what's going on with you. I think that's what it is. Then he was like, hey, I got a new phone. I was like, oh, really? What'd you get? He said, I got an iPhone. I was like, so do I. And he's like, great. I need you to take me to that app store so I can buy some apps. Well, I felt really bad for him, so I just drove him around town for about 3 hours till he fell asleep, downloaded the apps he wanted, and drove him home. You know, I didn't want to tell him that was not exactly how that works. Anyway, but you know, he's a good man, and I love languages though. Like I love learning different languages. I was at a Chinese restaurant, and I decided I wanted to tell my waiter, God bless you. And so I got out the Google Translator app, you know, and I typed in God bless you for the Chinese part, and I kept playing it in my ear. Okay, I played it about 4 or 5 times. I'm ready. He comes back and brings me my Diet Coke and my 12th plate. And I said, Shangdi Bai Yuni. And he just looks at me. Like, he just crickets, like, I mean, what? And I said, Shangdi Bai Yuni. I'm like, I nailed it, right? And he's like, what are you trying to say? And I'm like, I'm trying to say God bless you in Chinese. And he's like, no, it's Shangdi Bai Yuni. And I was like, that's what I said. He said, no, you said Shangdi Bai Yuni. It's Shangdi Bai Yuni. I was like, earlier when I asked you for fried rice and you said you had fried lice, I worked with you, okay? Work with me, okay? I do love languages, and I do love Chinese food. You can tell. I went to an Italian restaurant, and the guy that worked there, he's from Florence, Italy, and his name was Pepe. It was awesome. He's like, you know, he's a real Italian. How you doing? You know, like, well, that's more like a New York, right? But anyway, he's there, and he said, you know, how you doing? And I asked my friend before we got there, how do you say very good in Italian? And he told me the wrong answer. And I can't repeat it because I'm down with Jesus, okay? What he taught me to say. But it's molto bene. That's what you're supposed to say. Molto bene. Everything is good, you know. And I walk in, he's like, how you doing? And I'm like, molto bene. But that's not what I said. I said what my friend told me to say. And for 6 months, every time he saw me, how you doing? I'm like, molto bene. How's your food? Molto bene. How's the church work going? Molto bene. That's not what I said. Finally, he stopped me about 6 months in. He's like, dude, do you know what you're saying? I said, I'm saying very good. No, you're not. And I just felt this like cold sweat starting. Like I'm like representing my church in the community, and every day I'm telling, because I eat there a lot. And he's like, well, I said, what was I saying? And he said, you were saying very sexy. I was, what? Yeah, every time I come in, how you doing? I'm like, I'm very sexy. How's your pizza? Very sexy. A couple of years later, I go to the same restaurant with one of my siblings and hadn't been there in a long time. And this guy busts out of the back door and he goes, it's the very sexy guy. And I was like, yes, it is. It is. I'm not that man. Crazy. But I just love the languages, and it's so much fun to try to communicate with other people, but I also love sound effects. That sound effects are another way to communicate and also mess with people. Like the first sound effect I learned how to do when I was a kid was whistle without puckering up. So I'd be sitting in class and I'd just be like, everybody's losing their mind. Like, who's whistling? I was like, I don't know. Freaking out everybody was, and it really helped me out with my dad later on, because he'd be driving too fast one time and sitting in the back of the 1974 Ford Leisure van, also with a U-shaped couch and a metal square table in the middle. And then my brothers would be picking on me. They're like, he's sweating on me, because I was. And I'm back there and I grabbed the curtain, and I noticed my dad was going too fast in the front, and then I started in the back, and my dad from the back of the van hears this. And so he takes his foot off of the gas, puts it onto the brake, and pushes it all the way to the floor. It's like, all three of my brothers hit the windshield, because I'd already curtained up, it was a curtain. There was no seat belts. Crazy. Anyway, but I love traveling, and as a comedian, you get to see a lot of different places. And one time I was traveling and I rented a car. And when I was at the Morgantown Airport in West Virginia renting this car, I said, all right, I need something with good gas mileage. And they said, hey, I have a Prius. And I was like, that sounds perfect. And so I get the keys and I sign up for everything, and I turn around and they close the gate, like a little kiosk gate, like they were done for the day. So I've got a Prius, and so I go out in the parking lot, and since I have ADD, I'd already forgotten where he said it was parked. So I'm pushing the little button, doing that thing. And I finally found it, and the closer I got to this little Prius, the smaller the Prius got. Like really, it was like it just kept getting smaller, the closer I got to it. And then I saw right next to the word Prius, it said Prius C, which stands for compact. Or in my case, can't fit, Like this car came up to my waist. And I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know, but I've rented this car and I've got to drive 4 hours to my next show. And I got in there, like a spelunker going spelunking. I went head first, And here, put in this perspective, that car gave birth to me 22 times on that trip. Like National Geographic was following me all over the place. They were like with their cameras going, all right, the Prius is going to have a baby. They're British, apparently. Anyway, they're like, oh, there it is. It's a 300-pound bouncing baby Prius. And it runs on Taco Bell. That's what I found. Anyway, and I laid on the seat next to me the whole time because I was too tall to sit straight up and down in this Prius. And so I'm leaning on the passenger seat, and it makes the buzzer go off saying that there's a passenger without his seatbelt on. It's like, doom, doom, the passenger is not wearing his seatbelt. And I'm like, I am the passenger. So now I just rent trucks. That's what I do. I was like, what do you have in a tank? All right, so I need something huge. All right, that's my time, guys. Have a blessed night.
Go ahead, leave me hanging there, man.
There it is. Yeah.
I understand. It's like, yeah, he lifted that armpit up one too many times. I'm not going anywhere close to that. So, well, hey, thanks you guys for coming out and participating in some quarantine comedy. I appreciate that very much. And for those of you who are watching, please remember that here at Gutty's, we're trying to do everything we can to continue to provide good family-friendly entertainment, even through the shutdown and through the crisis of the COVID-19. And so if you can help us out, go to Gutty's Comedy Club / GuttysComedyClub.com. keep forgetting to say that, and then somebody, I'm not saying Steve would make fun of me, but he will. But Gutty'sComedyClub.com/gift, and help us out with any gift, any kind that you can. If you got $10, that's great. If you got $100, that's wonderful. If you got $1 million, let's talk. Just saying. But no, help us out any way you can, and be good to the people around you. If there's something you can do out of kindness to help those around you without spreading the germs and spreading the virus, please do that. Other than that, please wash your hands, use some common sense, and stop panicking, and stop hoarding all the toilet paper. I'm about to run out of the house, and that means I'm going to run out of socks. All right, so that's pretty much it for tonight. So keep watching and come back soon. We'll have another round of quarantine comedy here at Gutty's Comedy Club.